The photos hit my phone like tiny knives. Kids everywhere. Laughter, balloons, three-tier cakes, pony rides, a magician with a dorky hat, and a banner that read, "Family first." Except my son wasn't there. Not by accident. Not by oversight. By choice. My name is Kendra. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because let me ask you, have you ever watched your child be erased from a celebration that was supposed to be for everyone? They planned it for months, Mom and my sister, Tiffany. A massive backyard blowout for all the cousins, nieces, nephews. Over 100 guests. A unicorn bounce house. Hand-painted invites. The whole thing coordinated like a royal event. But when I asked why my 7-year-old, Micah, didn't receive one, my mom said, "We just didn't think he'd fit in. You know how he gets. He has anxiety. He gets overstimulated sometimes." So they excluded him from his own family. I stared at the screen, at photos of Tiffany's twins holding matching gift bags and riding ponies while my son sat on our living room rug, confused why he wasn't getting dressed like the others. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I took him out for ice cream instead, just us two, and told him it was a quiet day just for him. But I knew what I had to do. This wasn't the first time they treated my child like a problem, but it would be the last time they did it without consequence. So while Tiffany posted videos with captions like, "Cousins make the best memories," I started documenting every snub, every school committee where my name was mysteriously left off, every passive-aggressive text about how Micah was too sensitive. They painted me as dramatic for years. But I'd learned something powerful. You don't have to shout when the truth is loud enough on its own. So no, I didn't crash the party. I didn't go live. I didn't confront anyone. I got to work, quietly, carefully, and built something that made their little backyard parade look like a garage sale. And by the time I was done, Tiffany wasn't posting party pictures anymore. She was changing her phone number and her zip code. That night, after I tucked Micah in, I sat at the kitchen table and opened a fresh document on my laptop. Title: The Pattern. Every incident, every slight, every backhanded comment, denial, and dismissal, lined up in bullet points with dates and screenshots. Because this wasn't just a party. This was the culmination of years of quiet cruelty masked as family traditions. Like the Christmas my mom forgot Micah's name on the cousins' gift list. Or the Thanksgiving where he was told the kids' table was full and had to eat alone in the hallway. They always had an excuse. They always said it with a smile. They always acted like I was the one overreacting. But now, I had proof. A pattern. A story waiting to be told. I didn't want pity. I wanted accountability, the kind that hurts in places where apologies can't reach. So I started where they never expected. The school district. Tiffany had just joined the PTA, loud, boastful, eager to climb social ladders. She bragged about being a founding member of the district's inclusive family committee. And I had receipts, emails, chats, and audio of her dismissing my son as difficult and disruptive at past events. She was their poster mom. I sent a carefully written letter to the committee head, attached the clips, forwarded the text where she joked Micah was a vibe killer. I didn't even add commentary. The content spoke for itself. But that was just phase 1. Phase 2? Local parenting forums, neighborhood Facebook groups, event planner circles. All places Tiffany relied on to maintain her curated image of supermom. I posted nothing defamatory. I simply asked questions. What would you do if your child was the only one excluded from a family party and the host ran a public kids events company? The responses? Furious. Viral. A storm of empathy and outrage. By morning, 2 clients had backed out of her weekend bookings. By the end of the week, her business page had a new review, one that quoted her own words about my son. I didn't write it, but I didn't stop it either. Mom called me that Friday. "You've made your point. You're tearing the family apart." I answered quietly, "No. I'm holding up a mirror. If it's cracking, maybe you should look at what you built." She hung up. But that mirror? It was just starting to reflect. And soon, everyone would see exactly what kind of family they'd been applauding. By the following Tuesday, Tiffany's Inclusion Matters brand was in free fall. She tried to post a teary-eyed selfie on her Instagram story, saying she was the victim of misunderstandings and online bullying. That people were twisting words out of context. But I didn't have to say a word. The context was already public. That clip of her mocking Micah's sensitivity, he'd probably cry if the balloon popped too loud, had made its way to a popular mom blogger's page. With over 120K followers. They posted it with the caption, "This is what exclusion sounds like." And it's coming from someone who runs children's parties. Comments flooded in. She's the problem. No kid deserves that. I booked her once. Now I feel sick. How do you exclude a child from his own family? By the end of the day, her event partner pulled out of a joint venue contract. Her business Venmo was frozen due to a wave of refund demands. A concerned client forwarded me a message Tiffany sent trying to deny everything and blaming me. She said I had manipulated public perception. But I hadn't manipulated a thing. All I did was open the door. The truth walked out on its own. Micah still didn't know. I shielded him from all of it, just like I always had. I took him to the museum, to the aquarium, built Lego cities on our living room floor. He smiled again. Slept better. He thought the world was kind again. And for once, I was letting it be. But behind the scenes, my mom was in panic mode. She messaged me late that night. "You've humiliated your sister. She's afraid to go to church. Can't you just fix this?" I stared at the message for a long time. And then I typed, "You all left Micah out on purpose. You shamed a 7-year-old in silence. You don't get to ask for mercy now that the silence is broken." I didn't send it. I deleted it. Instead, I just responded. "Tell her I said hi." And that every balloon eventually pops. The next morning, I heard from a real estate agent. She didn't say it outright, but I could read between the lines. "I have a client looking to relocate quickly. She needs a fresh start. Some distance." Tiffany was moving. Micah would never know the full reason why. But me? I'd never forget what it felt like to be the one they underestimated. And then to watch them run from the party they once hosted. The moving truck arrived on a rainy Monday. No fanfare. No goodbyes. Just a gray van with smudged lettering and men who didn't ask questions. I watched from across the street, arms folded, heart calm. Tiffany had plastered herself across every social platform as the fun aunt, the community mom, the curator of magical childhoods. But now, the banner was gone. The backyard was quiet. And the neighbors? They were whispering. I didn't celebrate her downfall. I observed it, like a scientist watches a storm pass over land that refused to listen to the forecast. 3 weeks earlier, I was the dramatic sister. Now, I was the one parents asked for event recommendations. The one teachers emailed when planning inclusive activities. The one people actually saw. But none of that compared to what happened one afternoon, as I picked Micah up from school. He ran toward me, messy curls bouncing, eyes bright.
"Mom,"
Ms. Harrison said I get to help set up the art fair booth. Me and Ava. Ava, Tiffany's daughter. I froze for a second, then smiled. "Really? That's great, baby." He nodded furiously. "She said I'm good with colors." Ava said sorry for something, but I didn't get it. We just drew dragons. And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't about revenge. It was about repair. Not with them. They'd made their choice. But for him. For every time I swallowed pain to protect his joy. For every forced smile at family dinners where he was ignored. For every party he didn't get invited to, and every birthday gift they forgot to bring. I used to think I needed an invite to be part of the family.
But now?
Now I understood. Some doors are meant to be closed. Especially the ones that slam on your child's heart. So I stopped knocking. I built our own space. Bright, soft, and loud with laughter. And people came. People who saw Micah.
People who saw me.
At the next neighborhood gathering, someone asked if I wanted to help plan the spring block party. We need someone who really knows how to make sure everyone feels welcome. I smiled, because I wasn't just included now. I was essential. And the only thing sweeter than being invited was knowing you never needed their invitation in the first place. Spring came fast, and with it, the block party. Banners strung across the fences. A live jazz trio. Food trucks. Painting booths. Popcorn machines. Micah helped hang paper lanterns and handed out juice boxes like a tiny mayor. He wore his favorite red hoodie and a grin that never faded. This time, he wasn't an afterthought. He was part of everything. People came up to me all day, new moms, old neighbors, even teachers from Micah's school, just to say, "We're so glad you're here." And then, as if on cue, Tiffany showed up. She hadn't moved too far away, just across town, and apparently, she wanted to swing by and make things right. She walked in slowly, with her signature overcompensating smile, carrying a tray of gluten-free cupcakes and a camera-ready apology. "Kendra, can we talk?" I didn't answer right away. She glanced at Micah, who was busy helping another little boy untangle a kite string. He looked so happy. That's all I ever wanted. That was a lie, but I let it sit in the air. She shifted. The internet stuff, the business fallout. That got out of hand. I raised an eyebrow. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I see now what I did was wrong." Just regret that her world cracked when mine started shining. "Mom said you're still angry." I met her eyes and spoke slowly. "No, Tiffany. I'm done. There's a difference." She blinked, unsure how to respond. "Look," she tried again. "I didn't mean to hurt Micah. He's a good kid." I leaned in. "You didn't have to mean it. You just had to keep doing it, quietly, consistently, and without ever thinking twice." She started to speak, but I stopped her. "We're not enemies. We're just not family. Not in the way that words should mean." She looked down, hands trembling just slightly. For the first time, I saw the crack behind her smile. "So what now?" she asked. I looked out at the kids laughing in the distance, one of them mine, finally belonging.
Now?
"You live your life, and I live mine. But the next time you throw a party, maybe think twice before deciding who's worthy of being loved out loud." She didn't answer, just turned, slowly walked away, and left the cupcakes behind, untouched. Micah came running back over, holding a balloon animal and a drawing he made of us. "Best day ever, Mom." And it was. Because this time he was the center, not the secret. And I didn't have to fight for space. We built our own. A week after the block party, I got a letter in the mail. Not a text. Not a DM. An actual envelope with floral print edges and cursive handwriting I knew too well. My mother's. Inside was a family photo, a professionally taken one from the infamous pony ride party. All the kids lined up in color-coded outfits. Parents laughing. The whole perfect clan beaming for the camera. Except for one thing. In the bottom corner, where Micah had stood in every group photo before, there was air. Blank space. It was so obviously cropped, it was insulting. She'd mailed it with a post-it stuck on the back. "Hope you'll come around eventually. We miss you." I held the picture in my hands, my chest tight, not with grief, but with clarity. This wasn't forgetfulness. It wasn't passive exclusion. It was surgical. They wanted the image, not the truth. The performance of family, not the responsibility of it. Micah walked into the room right then. "Whatcha looking at?" I turned the photo over. "Just an old picture that doesn't matter anymore." He nodded and went back to his coloring. But I stood there longer, thinking about how much time I'd spent trying to earn a seat at their table. About the energy I wasted decoding fake smiles and decoding half-sincere invitations, all while raising a child who was pure-hearted, brilliant, and brave. I didn't need their picture.
I had my own now. From the block party.
From the aquarium. From the Tuesday night taco dinners where Micah wore a cape and told me I was the coolest mom alive. I had a new album, a life I built outside their narrative. So I took the photo they sent and slid it into a drawer labeled Past. And then I opened my phone, found the picture of Micah and Ava from Art Day, two kids side by side, holding dragon drawings, and printed it on glossy paper. That one, I framed. Because that wasn't curated. It wasn't polished. It was real. The kind of memory you don't have to crop to feel proud of. And for the first time in years, I felt free of their selective love. They could keep their ponies, their bounce castles, and their empty platitudes. I had something better. A child who knew what being loved fully felt like. It started with a local parent blog. Someone reached out to me privately after the block party. A woman named Janice, who ran a well-known column called The Real Table. She said, "I heard what happened, not the gossip, the truth. Would you ever share your story? Not to bash anyone, just to help others who feel invisible." I hesitated. For days. Not because I was afraid. Because I was tired of always being the one to explain. The one to justify. But then I thought of the moms I'd seen quietly crying at PTA meetings when their kid wasn't called on. The ones who felt too other in rooms full of fake perfection. And, of course, I thought of Micah. So I said yes. We met at a coffee shop. I spoke honestly, no names, just the story, what it felt like to be excluded, not as a punishment to me but to my child. What it felt like to watch relatives play pretend with everyone but us. What it felt like to be erased. The article went live 2 weeks later. Title: The Child They Didn't Invite, and the Mother Who Didn't Stay Silent. Within days, it spread. Not virally, not sensationalized, but steadily, like truth walking through locked doors. Emails came in from parents across the country. Stories of exclusion, of being overlooked by their own blood, of having different kids, sensitive kids, brilliant kids who didn't fit the mold. One mom wrote, "I read this in tears. It felt like someone finally said the thing I've been afraid to say out loud." Another simply wrote, "Thank you. You made me feel seen." I printed those messages, folded them neatly into a folder I now keep on my desk, labeled proof. Proof that speaking up matters. Proof that exclusion, no matter how quiet, always echoes somewhere louder. Tiffany never responded publicly, but I knew she saw it. The only thing she ever posted again from her events account was a generic quote about growth through challenges. Her bookings never fully recovered. Mom texted me a single sentence weeks later. "You didn't have to go that far." I replied, "You did. I just followed the map you drew." And that was it. No more photos. No more invites. No more pretending. Because this wasn't about being let back into their party. It was about making sure the next kid, the next mom, didn't have to wonder if they were crazy for feeling excluded. We were crazy. We were just finally done being quiet. Summer came, and with it, Micah's birthday. This time, we threw the party. No castles. No curated guest list based on family appearances. Just joy. A public park, superhero capes, a community bounce house. Kids from his class, kids from the block, and a few from his art group, all running wild and laughing without choreography. Micah turned 8. And for the first time, he didn't ask why certain people weren't there. He didn't ask why his grandma didn't call. He didn't ask if his cousins were coming. He didn't even notice. Because he was surrounded by people who chose to love him, not people who were guilted into it. Later that night, as I cleaned up the streamers and packed leftover cupcakes, a small voice said from behind me, "Mom." I turned. "Yeah, baby?" He looked up, red frosting smeared on his cheek. This was the best birthday. Not 'cause of the cake, but 'cause I didn't feel weird today. I felt like I was supposed to be here. I froze. That sentence. That exact sentence. Like I was supposed to be here. I knelt down and hugged him tightly. Not because he needed it, but because I did. All the years I'd questioned myself, tried to fit into rooms that rejected me quietly, smiled through dinners where my child was forgotten. And here he was 8 years old, standing in his truth. Confident.
Whole. Seen.
Not because they changed, but because I stopped waiting for them to. And in doing so, I taught him the lesson they never could. That you don't need their banner to feel like you belong. That family isn't blood that excludes you, it's love that surrounds you. That the quietest revenge is a full, beautiful life. No fights. No scenes. No screaming matches in their living rooms. Just a child who laughed all day and a mother who finally understood that the biggest celebration is being uninvited and not wanting to go. Weeks later, Tiffany moved again. Word got around that she left to start fresh, but we knew better. And Mom? Well, I heard she cried when the family newsletter didn't include her daughter's name this year. I guess that's what happens when you crop people out. Eventually you get cropped out too.
And me?
I smiled, closed the door, picked up the birthday card Micah made for me. It said in crayon, "To Mom, you're the best party ever." And for the first time, I didn't feel like a guest in my own life. I felt like the host.